Have you ever observed this charming scene? Your four-legged friend methodically circles several times as if performing some secret ritual before settling down with a satisfied sigh on their bed. This amusing dance before rest is so characteristic of dogs that we've long accepted it as normal. But have you ever wondered why our furry companions so persistently perform these circular movements? What lies behind this strange canine ritual? Today, we'll embark on a fascinating journey through the labyrinth of canine psychology and uncover all the secrets of this seemingly simple behavior. This action has roots deep in evolutionary history, when the proud, wild ancestors of our domestic pets roamed freely through forests and plains. Imagine a gray wolf somewhere in the snowy taiga or windswept steppe. The day is ending, and it needs to find a place to sleep. But simply finding it isn't enough. It needs preparation to make it safe and comfortable. That's why spinning before lying down became a vital part of wolf, and later dog, behavioral repertoire firmly embedded in genetic memory and preserved to this day. Let's start with the most obvious explanation: the pursuit of comfort. When a dog circles, they're literally creating their nest, making a cozy little nest. In natural environments, this helps flatten tall grass, ferns, fallen leaves, or snow, creating a perfect depression that precisely fit their body contours. Archaeologists studying ancient wolf sites have discovered that their resting places often have a characteristic round shape, direct evidence of this behavior that has existed for tens of thousands of years. Even though modern domestic pets enjoy the luxury of soft cushions and specially designed orthopedic beds, this ancient instinct hasn't disappeared. It's almost the same as what we do when we fluff a pillow before sleep or straighten our blanket. Dogs are simply performing their version of making the bed. And there's a certain charm in watching a domestic dog who has never known the wild instinctively prepare a resting place, just as their ancestors did thousands of years ago. But comfort is only the tip of the iceberg, the first layer of this complex behavioral cake. Spinning before lying down is also closely connected to safety issues. In the wild, wolves and other wild dogs were always in a state of heightened vigilance, constantly wary of larger predators or competing packs. By circling in place, they carefully examine the surrounding area for danger, checking for snakes, scorpions, or other potentially dangerous creatures. Animal behavior specialists call this safety scanning, a way of saying, "I've looked around from all sides. It's safe here. I can relax and rest." Ethologists observing wolves in Yellowstone National Park notice that alpha individuals usually circle longer than other pack members. This may be related to their responsibility for the safety of the entire group. And although domestic dogs don't need to worry about predators or protecting the pack, this self-preservation instinct still manifests in their behavior, passing from generation to generation through genes. One of the most amazing scientific discoveries in recent years is the connection between dogs circling and Earth's magnetic field. This sounds almost fantastic, but has serious scientific foundation. Scientists from the Czech University of Agriculture, led by Dr. Hanova, conducted extensive research observing 70 dogs of different breeds over 2 years. The results were astonishing. Dogs prefer to position themselves along the north-south axis, but only when Earth's magnetic field is stable. During magnetic storms, this pattern disappeared. This led researchers to conclude that dogs possess magnetoreception, the ability to perceive Earth's magnetic field and use it for orientation. Similar abilities were previously discovered in birds, turtles, and some mammals, but finding it in dogs was a real discovery. Essentially, our four-legged friends are living compasses, sensing Earth's force lines invisible to us. Scientists suggest this ability could have helped wolves orient during long migrations and return to their territories. Additionally, spinning can serve another important purpose: territory marking. You may not know, but dogs have special scent glands on their paw pads that secrete a unique aroma for each animal. When they walk in circles, they leave their aromatic autograph, thus declaring, "This is my place, I rest here." In the dog world, scents play an enormous role. They're the primary means of communication, their social network. Imagine leaving a personal note: "I was here, occupied," but instead of a pen, you use your own unique aroma. Veterinary ethologists discovered that the intensity of this marking increases when other dogs are nearby. In multi-dog households, pets may circle longer and more thoroughly, especially if the bed is shared. This is a unique manifestation of social dynamics and hierarchy in the canine collective. Weather conditions also significantly influence this behavior, adding another layer to our understanding of dog circling. On cold winter days, wild dogs and wolves circled to pack down snow and create an insulating pit that preserved precious body heat. Paleontologists studying remains of ancient wolf sites in Arctic regions discovered characteristic round depressions in snow layers, silent testimony to this ancient behavior existing for millennia. And in hot weather, they might dig up the top layer of soil to reach cooler ground beneath. Researchers observing dingoes in the Australian desert noticed these wild dogs can dig holes up to 30 centimeters deep to find coolness in extreme heat. Even if your dog has never lived outdoors or experienced such extreme conditions, these instincts are still encoded in their DNA, like dormant code ready to activate when necessary. Did you know that different dog breeds demonstrate this behavior with varying intensity and frequency? This is another fascinating dimension of this phenomenon. For example, northern breeds like Siberian Husky, Alaskan Malamute, or Samoyed often circle particularly thoroughly and for longer durations. Sinologists link this to their evolutionary history. Their ancestors lived in harsh Arctic regions where creating a warm, protected lair was literally a matter of life and death. They circled to pack down snow and create a place sheltered from wind and blizzards. On the other hand, breeds developed for life in hot climates, such as Saluki or Azawak, often demonstrate a different variation of this behavior. They may scratch the surface more than circle, as if trying to dig a hole to a cooler layer. This beautifully illustrates how different evolutionary histories and living conditions shape various versions of the same basic instinct. Interestingly, terriers, originally bred to hunt rodents in burrows, often circle particularly energetically, as if testing the surface strength. This may be related to their hunting past, when they needed to quickly assess soil structure and underground passage stability. Each breed carries in its genes a unique history of adaptation to certain conditions, reflected even in such seemingly universal behavior as circling before rest. But it's not only ancient instincts and evolutionary heritage that govern this behavior. Sometimes dogs circle due to quite modern medical problems, and here we transition to an important aspect of pet health care. If your four-legged friend suddenly started circling significantly more often than usual, does it compulsively, or circles but doesn't lie down, this could indicate neurological problems, ear infections, vestibular syndrome, or even arthritis. Veterinary neurologists note that compulsive circling, especially always in one direction, may indicate cerebellum problems or a brain tumor. With arthritis, a dog might circle for a long time, trying to find a position that won't cause joint pain. In such cases, circling is no longer preparation for sleep, but an attempt to cope with discomfort or pain, a kind of distress signal that an attentive owner should notice and respond to with a veterinary visit. Remember how you prepare for sleep. You fluff your pillow, straighten your blanket, find the ideal position for your hands and legs. Perhaps you even follow a certain ritual, reading a few pages, drinking a glass of water, or checking if the door is locked. Dogs do the same thing, just in their way. It's their ritual preparation for sleep, a form of meditation, helping them transition from activity to rest, calm down, and feel safe. Psychologists studying animal behavior note that rituals play an important role in many species' lives, including humans. They create a sense of predictability and control, reduce anxiety, and help structure time. When we observe a dog circling before lying down, we're not just seeing instinctive action, we're witnessing the manifestation of a complex psychological organization that in many ways resembles our own. Notably, some dogs don't just circle, but actively scratch the surface with their paws before lying down. This addition to the ritual also has deep evolutionary roots and relates to the same nesting instinct. In the wild, dog ancestors might dig earth for several reasons: to check soil for insects or other animals, to find a cooler layer in hot weather, or, conversely, create a warmer depression in cold weather. Especially interesting is how this behavior varies depending on surface type. On soft, sandy ground, wild dogs usually scratch more and circle less, while on dense grass, it's the opposite. This indicates this behavior's high adaptability and dogs' ability to assess the properties of the material on which they intend to rest. Current research shows that tactile receptors in dogs' paw pads are extremely sensitive and can detect even slight changes in surface texture. Observations show that dogs often circle counterclockwise. This is another intriguing detail that long remained a mystery to scientists. Neurobiologists now believe this may be connected to brain lateralization, right hemisphere dominance in most dogs, functionally analogous to right-handedness in humans. The right hemisphere controls the left side of the body, which may explain the preference for counterclockwise movement, placing the left side of the body outside the circle. Of course, there are exceptions. About 30% of dogs prefer to circle clockwise, potentially indicating left hemisphere dominance. And some individuals demonstrate mixed preferences, circling in one direction, then another. Neurophysiologists suggest this may be related to more balanced functioning of both brain hemispheres, a kind of ambidexterity in the dog world. It's also interesting to note that the number of rotations can vary depending on the situation and the dog's emotional state. If your pet feels completely relaxed and safe in a familiar home environment, they might make just 1 or 2 rotations, the minimum check necessary to satisfy the instinct. But in unfamiliar surroundings, such as visiting friends or staying in a hotel while traveling, the number of rotations can significantly increase. This is the dog's way of coping with anxiety and ensuring everything is okay despite the unusual environment. Researchers from the University of Bristol conducted an experiment recording the number of rotations made by dogs in various situations. It turned out that on average, dogs make 1 to 3 rotations before lying down in familiar surroundings. But after moving to a new home, this number increased to 5 to 7 rotations and gradually decreased as they became accustomed to the new place. This perfectly illustrates how instinctive behavior can be modified depending on conditions and perception of safety. Another curious fact: the direction of rotation may carry certain information about the dog's intentions. Some ethologists believe rotation direction may be connected to the animal's specific needs. For example, If a dog wants to relieve itself, it might circle in one direction, while if just settling for rest, in another. This is a kind of canine body language, nonverbal communication that experienced owners and animal behavior specialists can learn to recognize. Observations of wild dogs like Australian dingoes or African jackals are particularly interesting. In their natural habitat, they often demonstrate group circling. One pack member starts this ritual, and others join, creating a peculiar choreographic pattern. This may be related to social synchronization, an important mechanism for maintaining group unity that we observe in many social animals, from birds to primates. Speaking of owners and their influence, did you know that your own behavior can significantly affect how often and how long your dog circles? Animal behavior specialists note an interesting phenomenon. If you once paid special attention to this action and reacted positively, for example, laughed, were moved, or petted your pet, they might start repeating this behavior more often and longer to get your reaction and attention. Dogs are amazing creatures possessing highly developed social intelligence and quickly learning what elicits positive responses from their human companions. They can dramatize natural behavior if they notice it generates interest or endearment. Some owners report that over the years their dogs have developed entire performances with circling, including special elements such as stops, direction changes, or even bows at the end of the ritual. In some cases, however, circling can transition from normal behavior to pathological and become part of obsessive-compulsive disorder in dogs. This is a condition where the animal repeats certain actions again and again without apparent reason and cannot stop voluntarily. Veterinary psychiatrists note such behavior is more common in certain breeds, such as border collies, German shepherds, and bull terriers, and may be related to high stress levels, lack of physical activity, or genetic predisposition. If your dog circles constantly, cannot stop, does so in inappropriate situations, or shows other signs of compulsive behavior, such as excessive licking or tail chasing, it may be worth consulting a veterinarian or animal behavior specialist. Modern veterinary medicine offers various approaches to treating such conditions, from behavioral therapy to pharmacological interventions if necessary. Let's now discuss how this behavior changes with age and at different life stages. This is another fascinating aspect that helps us better understand our four-legged friends. Puppies often circle less than adult dogs. They're still learning all the nuances of canine behavior through observation of older dogs and their own experience. Research shows this ritual fully develops at approximately 6 to 8 months of age, when the puppy transitions to adolescence. Interestingly, puppies from the same litter often demonstrate similar circling patterns, the same number of rotations or preference for a certain direction. This may indicate a genetic component to this behavior or early learning through observation of the mother. Veterinary ethologists who have observed generations of dogs note that circling style can be passed down family lines, creating a kind of family tradition in canine dynasties. On the other hand, elderly dogs often circle longer and more carefully than middle-aged dogs. This may be related to several factors: joint problems requiring longer tuning of the body before rest, reduced flexibility, making more movements necessary to achieve a comfortable position, or simply because with age many dogs become more methodical and ritualized in their behavior. Veterinary gerontologists note that observing changes in circling patterns can serve as one indicator of age-related changes and potential health problems in elderly dogs. Sudden changes in this established behavior may be an early signal of developing neurological problems or arthritis requiring specialist attention. Amusingly, dogs sometimes circle even on absolutely flat and smooth surfaces like tile floors or linoleum, where there's no grass, twigs to flatten, or insects to scare away. This further confirms the power of instinct. The behavior is so deeply rooted in canine nature that it's performed automatically, even when there's no practical necessity. Neurobiologists studying brain evolution note that such redundant behavioral patterns aren't just atavisms or meaningless actions. They represent an important part of neural organization, a kind of built-in program activated by certain stimuli and situations. Even if the modern environment doesn't require these actions, the very process of performing them is important for the animal's nervous system, creating a sense of completion and correctness. Have you ever noticed some dogs not only circle but energetically scratch the surface before lying down, as if trying to dig or bury something? This is another ancient instinct related to storage behavior and resource conservation. In the wild, wolves and other canids often buried food remains or bones to preserve them from other predators and scavengers and return to them later when needed. Paleontologists studying ancient wolf sites have discovered numerous evidences of such behavior. Buried bones with characteristic teeth marks. Modern domestic pets sometimes demonstrate this behavior before sleep, even if there's nothing to bury, simply because this instinct is still active and part of their behavioral repertoire. In cynological research, this phenomenon is called phantom burying. The action is performed without the object it should be directed toward. In evolutionary context, circling before rest had yet another important function. It helped dogs repel insects, ticks, and other parasites that could disturb or even endanger them during sleep. By flattening grass and checking the resting place, wild dogs could discover and scare away potential neighbors, protecting themselves from bites that in some cases could lead to infections or disease transmission. Entomologists studying the behavior of ticks and other ectoparasites note that many react to soil vibration and movement, rising to the surface or, conversely, burrowing deeper. A dog circling creates precisely such vibrations, which may serve as a kind of test for the presence of unwanted organisms in a potential resting place. This is especially important for wild dogs, but may also matter for domestic pets, particularly those who frequently spend time in nature. Studying this seemingly simple behavior opens a window into the amazing world of evolution and adaptation. What we perceive as a cute habit is actually the result of thousands of years of natural selection and struggle for survival in harsh wilderness conditions. It reminds us that our domestic pets, despite all their domestication and adaptation to life with humans, still carry the rich heritage of their wild ancestors. Evolutionary biologists note that such stable behavioral patterns, persisting even with changes in habitat and lifestyle, testify to their deep rootedness in genetic code and high adaptive value throughout the species' evolutionary history. In other words, if behavior persists for tens of thousands of years, it must truly be important for survival and well-being. Curiously, similar behavior can be observed in other members of the canid family: foxes, coyotes, jackals, Arctic foxes. They all demonstrate various circling variations before lying down, although each species has its peculiarities reflecting their ecological niche and lifestyle. For example, foxes, which often use burrows, may circle less but scratch the surface more, preparing it for rest. Coyotes, inhabiting open steppes and prairies, often make more rotations, carefully checking the surrounding territory. This is further proof that this behavior has deep evolutionary roots and is common to the entire family, but is modified depending on ecological conditions and lifestyle. Zoologists from the University of California studying gray foxes in Yosemite National Park noticed an interesting feature. These animals often circle on elevations such as fallen tree trunks or rock outcroppings, which may be related to their semi-arboreal lifestyle. Such behavioral adaptations to specific ecological conditions show the amazing plasticity of instincts and their ability to adjust to certain living conditions. It's worth noting that not all dogs circle with the same frequency. Some may perform this ritual before every rest, while others only occasionally. Cynologists and animal behavior specialists note this depends on individual characteristics, temperament, breed, experience, upbringing, and even how comfortable the dog feels in a given environment. Research shows more anxious and sensitive dogs usually circle longer and more frequently than confident and calm individuals. This may be related to their increased need for security and confirmation that the environment poses no threat. On the other hand, dogs with more relaxed temperaments may skip this ritual if they feel completely protected and comfortable, for example, in a well-known home environment or near a trusted person. Sometimes dogs may circle for other reasons unrelated to sleep preparation. This adds another interesting aspect to our understanding of canine behavior. For instance, they might do this from excitement when they see you take out a leash for a walk or when they know they're about to be fed. In such cases, circling expresses joy, anticipation, and high emotional arousal. Neurophysiologists explain this by noting that strong emotions activate ancient brain regions connected to motor functions, and this excitation energy literally spills out into movement. It's similar to how small children jump for joy, or adults can't sit still when anxious. In the dog world, such emotional circling is usually faster and less structured than before rest, and often accompanied by other signs of excitement: wagging tail, jumps, play bows. Observing how your dog circles before lying down can tell you much about their mood, well-being, and general condition. Experienced dog handlers and veterinarians often use this as one diagnostic indicator. If your pet usually makes 2 to 3 rotations at a calm pace, but today circles significantly longer, anxiously, often stopping or changing direction, this may indicate discomfort, concern, or even pain. Researchers from the London University Veterinary College developed an entire circling assessment scale that considers rotation, number, speed, movement smoothness, and other parameters. This scale helps veterinarians identify potential health problems at early stages when other symptoms may not yet be obvious. Attentive owners can use these observations as one indicator of their pet's health and well-being, as dogs, as known, often hide pain and discomfort, masking them under familiar behavior. Changes in such basic rituals as circling before rest may be the first signal that something is wrong and a reason to consult a specialist. Now that we've examined many aspects of this behavior, let's consider how we can apply this knowledge in everyday life with our four-legged friends. Understanding the nature and significance of circling can help us create more comfortable resting conditions for our pets. For example, if your dog often scratches the surface before lying down, they might enjoy a bed with softer, more mobile filling that can be arranged to taste. For dogs that are particularly careful in choosing a resting place, you might offer several different bed options in different parts of the house. Research shows many dogs prefer having a choice of several resting places, depending on time of day, temperature, noise level, and other factors. Some pet supply manufacturers have even developed special nesting beds that mimic the sensations of a natural lair, with raised edges and a soft center that the dog can customize to taste. Such beds are especially popular among dogs that love to circle and arrange their resting place. Summarizing our fascinating investigation, we can say that dog circling before sitting or lying down is multifaceted behavior, intertwining ancient instincts, comfort and safety concerns, territorial signals, magnetoreception, and even elements of communication with other pack members and humans. It's one of those amazing manifestations of nature that remind us of our four-legged friends' rich evolutionary heritage, and that over thousands of years of domestication, we've only slightly altered their basic nature. What began as a survival strategy in the wild has become part of our domestic companions' daily ritual, connecting them to their wolf ancestors through an invisible thread of instinct and genetic memory. And although modern domestic dogs need not worry about predators, extreme temperatures, or finding food, their bodies and brains still hold memories of when these skills were vital. Next time you see your dog perform their little circling ritual before settling down to rest, remember this amazing combination of instincts and adaptations. Notice which direction they move, how many rotations they make, whether they scratch the surface. Observe how these parameters change depending on the situation, time of day, weather, presence of other animals or people. This simple action reflects dogs' entire evolutionary history, from wild ancestors to beloved domestic pets sharing our homes and lives. Perhaps next time, going to bed, you'll involuntarily adjust your pillow, shake out your blanket, turn several times, trying to find the ideal position, and smile, realizing how similar we sometimes are to our four-legged friends. After all, comfort, safety, and rituals are important not only for dogs, but also for us humans, connecting us to our own roots and instincts that we often don't notice beneath layers of civilization and technology. Thank you for showing interest in this fascinating topic. I hope you'll now watch your dog's behavior with even greater understanding, observation, and admiration. These simple actions conceal an entire world of canine psychology, evolutionary biology, and adaptive behavior, which is only beginning to reveal itself to us through modern research and observations. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your dog-loving friends if you want to learn more interesting facts about our four-legged friends and their behavioral mysteries. Until next time, in the world of amazing discoveries about our faithful companions.